While the 2025 NFL draft may be over, the draft content continues to roll on. We have so many more videos to come out and so many that have already been posted. This is the 2025 NFL draft's biggest steals, and I talk about a lot more in my day 2 steals and day 3 steals videos. So some are repeats, some are new additions, and just overall some players that I liked at the spots where they were picked. Are these players going to end up being superstars? Maybe not, but the value seemed good based on where I viewed these guys as prospects. We're going to start with the Tennessee Titans that I think they've had a pretty good offseason overall. They had a lot of holes, and I think a guy like Kevin Winston Jr. is going to definitely help in the back end. They got him at number 82 overall. Why is he here? Well, it's the case of a lot of these steals, or I'll say, steals. He fell due to injury, right? And it's tough because injury is a real thing, where we could have a player that might seem amazing. Like, how are they available? They're so good. You got to take them because the talent's unbelievable, undeniable. Well, if the injury is real, if they're a true like injury-prone player, or they have a nagging thing that they just can't seem to get over, back issues, we go from an uber-talented player like Titans fans know with Caleb Farley, and they can just never stay on the field and develop. But I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case with Kevin Winston Jr. Yeah, he missed significant time in 2024, but he's a really, really good player. I think you can make an argument that he was a top 3 safety in the draft, and if he was healthy, he might have been in the conversation even higher than that. But yeah, I think it's a strong conversation to say that he was a top 3 safety. The Titans got him here in the 3rd round, and I think he's just an absolute do-it-all beast. I think inside the top 100, I absolutely love the selection for Tennessee. We've talked about him a lot already, but I really think Will Johnson at pick number 47 was absolutely worth the shot. He's too talented of a player. The knee injury may be legitimate. It might be a real problem for him going forward, and that's a reason why he falls. Also, his 2024 tape just wasn't as good as 2023. And was he playing hurt? Was he playing with a bum knee along with some other injuries he had? That's a possibility. But there are some questions that have risen about his overall athleticism. He's got really short arms, which is a problem for a press man corner. He's really going to be more of a zone guy. He should be big and physical, and I think he'll continue to do that in the NFL. The short arms to me aren't too much of a problem because I think his physical play style should be able to translate. He's a ball hawk. He's got such a nose for the football. He's so instinctive, and that really works well for his own corner, and that's the bread and butter name of the game for Will Johnson. I'm not going to say he was a bona fide top 10 talent that got to 47 because of injuries, but he was a first-round talent to me that got here because of injuries and then some other concerns based on 2024. But overall, I think the Cardinals really could have gone out and added a better corner, even though I kind of like their secondary. I think they've got some talent there for the future. I think Will Johnson's a really great addition to that room and will compete to be a starter. And you can see him right above me on the thumbnail. I really like Luther Burden III. I think he's another first-round talent. The Bears get him here. It does kind of feel like too many cooks in the kitchen in a way, but I think it's going to work really well for the team because they have so many weapons, so many different ways they can hurt you. And the concerns with Luther Burden are, I guess you could say, character, but it's personality driven. They say he's this diva wide receiver, and maybe that doesn't work with in a place like Chicago where you've got to get the ball to DJ Moore and Rome Odunze and Colston Loveland now, and you're still going to run the football. Where are you going to find opportunities for Luther Burden? But I'm thinking that he will end up making the most of these opportunities. He's such a talented player, and if he can play in the slot full time, which is what I expect him to do here in Chicago, he's going to be a really big mismatch because he's explosive as hell. He's so good with the football in his hands, and he's a slot fade machine. So you can get this guy working down the field. You can get him the football underneath, and he can be a huge playmaker for a Chicago Bears team that needs more of those guys. They went out and they got them. I like the combo that they had, but Keenan Allen was not really a good third receiver at this stage in his career. I think Luther Burden is trending up, whereas Keenan Allen, unfortunately, was trending down. But I think Burden is ultra talented. I think if I was picking just based on tape, I would have had him in the first round, I think, no question. And I think you could say a similar thing about new Seattle Seahawks safety Nick Eamon-Worry. Absolutely love him as a player. And it's easy to say, okay, yes, RAS score, it's the best of all time for a safety. It's the best of all time if you played corner. It's the best of all time at linebacker. He's just an unbelievable athlete. Height, weight, speed, freak. He's explosive as anybody. He's so fast, but he's not just an athlete. He is first and foremost to me a football player. He is instinctive. He is a ball hawk. He knows where to be. He's a pick six machine. And I think he's able to impact the game in a number of different ways. I think he can play strong safety and be a too high safety on that. Well, I would say boundary side, but he's got the speed to, to really make up ground and play field safety, but the instincts aren't quite to that level there. They're more evident in the box. And this is someone that I think could be a real weapon for Seattle in the slot. And they can get creative with how they use him. I think with Mike Macdonald, it is the perfect defensive mind to team him up with. Getting Nicky Manwari is a true weapon on defense for the Seahawks team. It just felt like he was going to be a Seahawk the entire process. It's just, are they going to take him at 18? Or does he fall a little bit? And he fell a little bit, and Seattle moved all the way up to get him. And I really, really like the selection for them, because this is a guy that if he went top 10, it would be a little crazy, but top 15, top 20 was pretty easy to see. And he falls to 35, and I think the Seahawks got a really good one that they'll be able to use really well. I think sometimes you can see, oh, this is a great player. He should be on my favorite team. But it's like, do you have a history of being able to develop these guys and play them in the right areas? Like, could Isaiah Simmons have been something if he got drafted somewhere else, whereas he didn't really work out with the Cardinals? I don't know. But I think the Ravens are another one of these teams that can absolutely develop these guys and know where to play these guys. They have such a good plan in place for everybody that they bring into the fold. And I think that's why Kyle Hamilton has been so effective in Baltimore. And yeah, they did have to play him, I think, in not an ideal situation at times last year due to injuries, but once everyone was back and healthy, they were able to move him around, and the Ravens defense started to actually be able to defend the pass. Pass rush got going a little bit, and I think with the disappointment that Marcus Williams has become, I think getting a big-time free safety in Malachi Starks really needed to be a priority for this Ravens team. And when he fell to 27, it was obvious what was going to happen. I had him falling to 27 in my final mock. I had the Ravens taking him. It was just so obvious, because if ever there's a really good player that falls in the draft, the Ravens are always picking at the back end of the first round, and they always just draft the obvious guy, and then they're always good. I mean, maybe the last safety before Kyle Hamilton that they drafted round 1 didn't work out. I think Matt Elam was the last one, and he was horrendous, but overall, their track record for drafting and developing has been absolutely phenomenal. And I think Malachi Starks, with his high character, work ethic, leadership abilities, communication skills on the field, and then just his absolute playmaking ability as just a player on the field is incredible, other than the intangibles. His ball skills are fantastic for a safety. His instincts are great. He's a really, really good player, and I think he's going to be a really, really good player for the Baltimore Ravens, and I think Mike Green will be as well. It's very obvious why he fell. SA allegations, multiple of them, one dating back to high school. I don't know the validity. I don't know how serious these are, but I can tell you any SA allegation is serious. So we know why Mike Green fell. He was off a number of teams' boards, and the Ravens felt comfortable taking him at number 59. From the report, it seemed like Mike Green's explanations about some of those allegations were not satisfactory to teams. So I don't really know what to tell you about Mike Green, the person, but in terms of the football player, this was arguably a top 10 player in the draft. He's explosive as hell. He is refined as a pass rusher. He's good against the run. He's going to be a starter at outside linebacker for the Ravens, and he's going to be probably very, very good. Again, if you can get by some of the off the field things, which are no joke, you're going to get a really good player here. So I feel a little uncomfortable, because if those allegations are true, it's really bad, but he is a really good player. So I don't know. I do prescribe to innocent until proven guilty, like no question. And I do think some of these young men can be exploited if, they if you know they're going to end up being something and they have money, right? Like, I get that happens. I get that that's happened before. But I think a lot of the time there's legitimacy and they're not just false claims for no reason. So, again, it's a weird spot, but the football player is really good. I like to keep it about football on this channel. I think you do have to recognize some of the off-the-field things, but he is really good. The value of the player, where I viewed him based on film study, was way better than the 59th player in the draft. As we move to Caleb Johnson, same conversation for me in terms of, well, the different conversation for a lot of reasons, but same conversation in terms of I had him a lot higher than the 83rd best player in the draft. I think he's in that conversation as the second or third best running back in this draft. Now, he wasn't going to be a great fit for every team. He doesn't have breakaway, burner type speed, but what he does have the ability to do is stay patient. He has great vision, and in a heavy zone run offense, he's going to be able to see how these blocks develop and hit the hole. That's what he did at Iowa. It's exactly what he's going to be doing in Pittsburgh. They lose Najee Harris, which you could maybe say is addition by subtraction. I think, how crazy do I want to get? I don't know if it's that crazy. I think Caleb Johnson can be a better player right now than Najee Harris. I'm a huge Caleb Johnson fan. If you want to talk about production, it's tough to find more in this draft. Obviously Genty, but Johnson is the next tier down. He is a really, really good player, and I think, you know, his highlights, what I don't care. If you watch the actual film from end zone view and you can see the vision, it's phenomenal, in my opinion, for Caleb Johnson. He's going to a great scheme to be effective. He's got incredible size. He's, I think, a bell cow type running back, and I think will be really, really productive with this Steelers team if he's given the touches to be, you know, I think he's going to be really effective if he's given those touches. So we'll see what happens, but I'm a really big Caleb Johnson fan, and I really like what the Patriots did in the draft, and we'll talk about this more as I get to grading every single team, but I like Braden Swinson. I was shocked he made it nearly to pick 150. He's a good athlete with good size, with production at LSU, playing in the SEC. He was really good at pressuring the quarterback, and yeah, you'd, of course, like you can say with anybody, you'd like to see more of those pressures end up in sacks, but it's not like this guy wasn't productive at all at LSU. He was decently productive, and if you care about production in the best conference in college football, Braden Swinson, I think, is going to be a pretty good fit for you as a fan. He's got, for me, great size, great athleticism, still developing, obviously, as a player, but I see no reason he should have been available at pick 146. Thought this was a steal. I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about it at this point. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of talking about it. But I do think Shedeur Sanders was way better than the 144th player in the draft. Why did he fall? Well, it's a combination of not really being an elite quarterback prospect. He was not a great QB prospect. He was just a good QB prospect, and that's fine to say. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't great. He was in the middle. He was fine. He's very accurate, and that's really important at quarterback, obviously. But outside of that, he doesn't have an elite arm, which these get drafted, doesn't have elite size, doesn't have elite mobility, holds on to the football too long. This is very far from a perfect prospect. So even if you can say he was about the most pro-ready quarterback right now, he's not pro-ready. And he doesn't have the highest ceiling in the world because he's not such a gifted athlete. And that's factoring in the overall arm strength as well. And you wonder, okay, if he's not going to end up being a starter for us, where does he end up going? So then you start to see the slide. And there weren't that many QBs taken ahead of him, but once the Browns took Dylan Gabriel over him, I'm like, what is happening? What is happening? Like, I don't love some of the QBs taken ahead of Shedeur, but at least I get it, right? Like in the case of Tyler Shuck, he's got way better size. He's got a way better arm. There's more to like, right? Even if he's inconsistent and not that accurate at times. What is Shedeur's ceiling? Well, I think he can be an average starter. And that's really good value at 144. I think he can compete to be the starter early in Cleveland. And I get why he fell. I even get why Dylan Gabriel went ahead of him. Because Gabriel, you're drafting to be a backup. He's not going to be the starter. You're drafting him to get another guy in the room. And if you're drafting a backup quarterback, you don't want the headache that in the media firestorm that Shedeur Sanders will inevitably bring. I'm not going to say he's a bad kid or he's got an awful personality. I know his teammates like him. Some of the stuff I haven't loved seeing, you know, talking trash to the other team after the game. And I don't mind trash talk, but after the game, like, you're going to bring up Instagram, like, oh my God, whatever. Like, and, you know, saying, you know, talking trash on, you know, players from Colorado that were just like told to transfer. I mean, it's just stuff that doesn't need to happen. Just shut up. Like, you don't need to be negative for no reason. This is why people don't like Shedeur Sanders and Coach Prime in Colorado. And I'm not a huge hater or anything. I thought Travis Hunter was the best player in the draft, but it's not like these guys are disliked for no reason. Is it overblown? Maybe. Like, I wouldn't necessarily dispute that. I like Shedeur as a player, but some of the stuff has rubbed me the wrong way. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. And I hope Shedeur is successful. You know, you hate to see anybody expect to go really high and then fall all the way this way and whatever. And then at the prank call, I think was, you know, not acceptable. You're making him think he got drafted and then he ends up going 100 picks later. So, you know, it was a tough fall, but hopefully it's a little bit of a reality check. And I think if you put the chip on his shoulder, I think he can end up being a pretty good player. So we'll see if he can develop into being a league's average starter. I think he's got that type of potential. And I do think it's a steal at 144 because I think he was a lot better than a fringe top 150 player. I think he's a top 50 player in the draft. So going here at 144, I thought was, you know, a shocking fall, as it seems like most of us did. Noel Williams at number 85 here. I really like him as a player. He was one of the better corners in this draft, and I think has a chance to start for the Chiefs. This is someone that I got to pretty late in the process, final week before the draft. I watched a couple more corners, Noel Williams, Justin Wally, who I also ended up liking a lot. So he's not going to be in this video, but because he wasn't taken that, you know, late. But if you got Justin Wally, I think he went to Indianapolis. I like him as a player. But Noel Williams, I think, was really good value at pick number 85. I think he's got starter potential for Kansas City, and I thought they needed to go out and add more at corner. So I'm hoping that Noel Williams can develop because I think he's got, again, real starter potential, which is a good find at number 85. Well, I actually am going back and re-recording after editing this video because I grabbed this Trey Amos screenshot and forgot to throw it in the video. Yeah, I think Trey Amos here at 61 was a really big steal for Ole Miss. He's got phenomenal tape, and really the big question with him was, okay, is this guy athletic enough? And if you saw the combine, he ran like 4.4 flat. So the speed was definitely evident. He's got really good size. I think he's going to be a really good fit for this Commanders team that I thought really needed to add a corner because I know they no longer have Benjamin St-Juste, but you look in the playoffs and the Commanders were just absolutely dominated at times because they had their third or fourth best corner that had to be in the game just getting picked on time and time again. You're really at times only as good as your third best corner. You can really never have too many, and Trey Amos was somebody that I thought could have gone in the first round. The Commanders get him at 61. I thought it was great value for someone that, again, could have been a first-round pick. They get him at the end of the second round. It's a really great pickup and an excellent fit into Dan Quinn's defensive scheme. This was a really, really good selection. And if you guys have been on the channel for draft season, really the past year, you know I've been very, very high on Savone Revel Jr. I think Revel is a beast. I wish it was Siobhan. It'd be so easy, but it's Savone, and he goes by Vaughn at times. It's an interesting combo as far as I know, but Savone Revel Jr., film-wise, was great in 2023, was great in 2024. He is arguably the best man cover corner in the draft. And that's my opinion, but that's how strongly I view Savone Revel. I think he was arguably the best man cover corner in the entire draft. He's got elite size and athleticism and ball skills. Not really much of a tackler, to be honest, but I value the cover skills more than anything at corner. That doesn't mean you can't tackle at all, and you can just get bulldozed over and can't, you know, hold your own against a block against a receiver. Like, you don't like that, but his cover ability is so great. He's so good at staying in phase. He's so good at running with anybody down the field. And I think this guy's just an absolute stud. Why is he available at 76? He tore his ACL earlier in the year, and that's a concerning injury. I know guys bounce back from that all the time now, but it's a concerning injury. You don't want to see, your first round pick have an ACL tear. I know the Chiefs drafted Josh Simmons at 32, coming off a torn patellar tendon. But again, you get a little bit worried about it, especially for a corner whose, I guess, real claim to fame is their elite speed and athleticism. So but we'll see how Revel's able to bounce back. I hate the Cowboys, but I'm rooting for him. Everybody talks about how awesome this guy is as a person. Brett Coleman with the interview at the Shrine Bowl. I've DM'd with Revel a little bit, so maybe there's some bias there. But I was hyping this guy up before any of that ever happened. So I love the player. He seems to be a great person as well. And I'm rooting for him, even though I hate the Cowboys. I think this was a stellar pick by Dallas here at number 76. And I'm a big fan of Marcus Bowe as well. Pound for pound, might be my favorite pick of the entire draft because I think this was a guy that could have gone at the top of the second round and it wouldn't have been that weird. But because of some injury stuff, he falls all the way to pick number 154 in the 5th round. And I love Marcus Bowe. He's got great footwork. He's got great movement in space. So this is someone that it's fun to watch him go block on screens. And it's fun to watch him when he's pulling. And a little bit more rare at right tackle, right? But he is a really fun player that I don't think is going to be an NFL tackle. But I think does have the flexibility to play right tackle if there's an injury. Think about like Gray Zabel, who went in the first round. Better prospect than Bowe, no question. And without the injury stuff, better prospect, no question, all things considered. But I really do love Bowe, and I think he's got that same almost 5 offensive line position flexibility. Although I think his home with the Giants will end up being at guard. And I think there's a real chance that he's just starting at left guard week 1. So we'll see if the injury stuff checks out and he's going to be good to go and healthy. But the tape's really good. Name of the game for Marcus Bowe is, or claim to fame, it's his movement skills, it's his footwork. He's like a dancing bear out there. So Marcus Bowe, M is silent. Marcus Bowe, I think, was really good value for Big Blue at 154. And I was a really good, I thought I was a really big fan of the pick prior to that, round 5 pick 143 with Jordan Phillips, the Maryland Terrapin. He's a really good player, really good run defender, a little bit raw as a player, but can really play the leverage game in the trenches, can really hold the point of attack, then can be an NFL nose tackle, even though he's not as big as his teammate who was drafted at number 13 in Kenneth Grant. He can really, really hold up strong at the line of scrimmage. He's a great run defender, but still raw as a player, but a good athlete. I think sky's really the limit for Jordan Phillips when it comes to 5th round picks. So I don't know, I'm not going to say he's going to end up being a superstar or anything like that, but I think he's got starter potential. And I think at the very least, he'll be able to rotate in and be stout against the run. And I think the Dolphins needed to get bigger and stronger and more physical up front. I think they've done that with Jordan Phillips. And I think Chris Paul Jr., no relation to the basketball player, but I think this was a great pick for the Rams at 172. This was a top 5 linebacker in the draft, maybe even the 3rd best off-ball linebacker in the draft. Jahad Campbell, Carson Schwarzenegger, Chris Paul Jr. to me is in that conversation as the next best off-ball linebacker. There are some other names in there. I did like Smile Mondon. I do like Demetrius Knight, and there are some other names in there. We'll see what the future holds for guys like Barrett Carter. But I think Chris Paul Jr. was in that conversation for me, and he doesn't even go in the top 150 picks. Yes, there was a fall off after Schwarzenegger prospect-wise, no question in my opinion. But Paul Jr. can really play. He's a good athlete. He's decent in coverage. He's good against the run. I thought this was great value, and I think will end up being a starter, maybe even as a rookie for the Rams. Great value at 172. They needed to upgrade at linebacker, and I think they've absolutely done that. Those are my draft steals for the 2025 NFL Draft, but don't go anywhere because we've got more videos to come. I'm going to post my live reactions to every first round pick. That should be a fun one if you didn't see the NFL Draft live stream. And of course, grading every team, reacting to my way too early 2025 mock draft to see how things changed over the past year. And of course, the long-awaited, way too early 2026 NFL mock draft. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.